always like to start these off with like real deep stuff.
Of course.
So we're gonna go right to the nitty gritty. So, if all the animals could talk, and I know you got a fondness for dogs, right? But like,
of course,
if all animals could talk, which one do you think would have the most interesting conversation?
Whew. It's a great question. I'd have to maybe think it would be a dog. No.
Yeah.
I mean, man's best friend. Probably all positive thoughts.
Probably.
The one thing about dogs I really like is they're always seem to be happy, so I feel like they would have some good things to say, but I mean, besides that, I don't know, maybe
it's a good answer.
Yeah,
it's a good answer. It's probably what my answer would be, right? Like, I come home every day and my two dogs, they run to the door as if I'm coming back from war, and they're all excited to see me. And
always excited.
Yeah, even if I'm having like a bad day, which I don't often have bad days, but like, even if I'm like, oh, thank you. Good to see you too.
Yeah, and they're a good reminder of like, shouldn't we all try and be more like that, right?
Yeah,
so, I think you have a lot of, down. It's easy to get down in the world.
It is.
Dogs are a good reminder that it's always good to keep your head up.
Yeah. Are you more of a positive mindset type of guy?
Definitely positive mindset type of guy.
Always been that way?
Always been that way. I've always kind of focused on what's next, and progress. I mean, you can't really dwell on a lot of the bad things that happen. So
that's right.
I've just always been really focused on moving forward. I've always had a goal and always have something I'm working towards. I'm always thinking of the next thing.
Yeah.
I was the type of kid that had to have every moment filled. I'd start trying to make sleepover plans on Monday and Tuesday. And
I saw Kobe in this interview talking about how he would get up at 4 a.m. And I'm not a 4 a.m. dude, but he talked about how much more he could progress if he just woke up at 4 a.m. like versus his competitors. He could get so much further along. And I was like, yo, why am I not doing that?
Super funny you bring up Kobe. He's literally one of my favorite role models. Yeah, I have posters of him in my house. I've always loved Kobe even before, like, my whole life. My original kind of handles and Instagrams and Twitters are actually Joey Coco 24. And that 24 came from Kobe.
All right, well, we'll always want to look forward, but let's look back. So what year did the accident happen?
2016. It was May. And I was a senior in high school. It was right before graduation too. So it was kind of a crappy time to have it happen. But it was right before my graduation, and it was Cinco de Mayo weekend. Okay. So I was like almost there to the end. Yeah. And then it happened, which was certainly, inversely a major setback, because I was all fired up. I mean, I was ready to go to Tallahassee and FSU and had all these plans, and it kind of came out of nowhere. So that definitely derailed me. But yeah, it was May of 2016, my senior year.
Gotcha. So, how long? I know that you did go to FSU. Wait.
I ended up going to Stetson. So what? Yeah.
All right. So just before graduation, what year were you able to go to college?
So it happened really quickly, obviously, because, kind of back to what we were saying, I was just so focused on getting out of it and moving on. So it happened May 2016, early May, and I was in the hospital the whole summer. So I got out like end of August.
That's fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fast. I mean, it didn't feel that way in there, but looking back, it was pretty fast, especially given the scope and laundry list of injuries. Yeah, but I mean, in some ways with the body, it has to be fast, especially in an injury like this, because if you don't get moving as soon as you can, it's even worse. You start to lose, functionality and mobility. So they have to be as fast as they can. But I got out end of August 2016. I made it to Stetson August of 2017.
Wow.
So I ran back.
Yeah.
And that had some challenges that came with it, but I ran back because I really wasn't done kind of buttoning things up. I mean, literally speaking. So it was fast, but like I said, I had to get back and get moving.
Yeah.
It wasn't the injuries and the pain and all this stuff. It was like, geez, now I have to watch Snapchats and Instagram of my friends going to school and they're rushing frats and we had all these plans and all this stuff. And now, I'm at home. So that was tough because, I always hate to admit, but I have some FOMO, fear of missing out.
For sure.
And I was just like, oh man, I want to be there. So I had to basically take this whole deferral year.
Yeah, it was a whole
which
year.
For me made it even more prevalent. Like I have to get back to school.
Yeah.
So that was tough. So for me, I really wanted to get back as soon as I can. So we got right back to it.
So when you get into school, talk to me about the challenges that you had going through school with your injuries.
There was a ton of different challenges that I had there. Now Stetson was really accommodating, at least in times where I had to do surgeries and stuff. Because the first 14 months I was out there, I had to come back and forth for surgeries. But it was challenging in ways. The thing about this injury is, people obviously see it right away. And for that reason, they kind of think they can understand the whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, we know what he's going through. We can see it all over his body. But it's really even much tougher than you'd imagine, especially when you're that close out. Because for me in the beginning, it was little things like we'd go out to an event or a party or whatever it might be, a bar, or even events at this campus, wherever there was a big crowd, people are normal people. They don't have everything I have going on. So they're bumping into each other. They're pushing each other aside to get to the bathroom, stuff like that. So in the beginning, it was really tough because I didn't have the balance at first that I do now. I'm still a little off balance, but much, much better than I was then. So I'd have to be careful. I'd have to kind of have my head on a swivel, be like, okay, could someone bump into me, kind of preventatively putting my arms out to not get bumped into. Then it's like, okay, how do I hold a drink? We're going to the cafeteria. Tongs are my worst enemy. I can work with them. Work with anybody if I have to. Yeah. But I see tongs. I'm like, oh my God, we got tongs here. So, you're going through the cafeteria. You got plates, cups. How do I get my ice? Just all the basic stuff, that is very challenging. So it was tough in the beginning. I was very lucky to have a very close friend of mine at Stetson.
Okay.
Which is kind of one of the many reasons I ended up there. Because obviously FSU probably would have been a little hectic and maybe not accommodating. Like Stetson, it was really easy to email a dean and get in touch or get to the top pretty quickly. And I also had my really good friend there pretty much since I moved to Florida in 2011. So, and we're really close. He was there for a lot of the hospital stay type things. So yeah, he knew firsthand.
Good friend.
The situation. And he introduced me to my first roommate, who was also from Jersey. I got to meet him in May.
Okay.
So we had all summer, and my friend did that on purpose so we could get in touch, so I could feel comfortable. And I kind of right away had a pretty good network of people. So at these events, and that's why the size of Stetson was good, because it wasn't too small to where there was a lack of fun. There was a lot of fun, plenty of events, but it was small enough to where pretty much every event I went to, I had, at least 3 to 5 people that I could be like, hey, this happened, or I spilled something, or I cut my hand, you got to get a Band-Aid, or just whatever the case may be. So I was able to kind of cover the bases pretty well. But it was a struggle in the beginning, adjusting to all that, and kind of dealing with the pressure of making it all seem normal. Because, I rushed to fraternity right when I got there. So then I had to figure out okay, now I'm in a pledge class. I don't want any special accommodations. How do I go through and do all these things that they're doing? So kind of figuring all that out was just a day by day thing.
Right. Challenges that a lot of us just take for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
And just little things that came with that I didn't even know. Like, I didn't know that the balance thing would be a trick of mine or a challenge of mine until I was, getting knocked around all of a sudden.
And like you said, people see and say, "Oh, okay, I know what he's dealing with." But I bet there's a ton of other things. They don't know.
There's a ton of other things, and they don't know these little things, or if I dropped something somewhere. I mean, I had the luxury of, like I said, always having a roommate, and I didn't have to do the traditional dorms. They put me in an on-campus apartment my first year. So, I mean, I did what I could, but it was a lot of trial and error. But generally speaking, I mean, I did great. I went. I had a blast. I figured out how to. I just figured out how to build a guard. Like, get off me, don't you know?
Yeah.
You can't knock me over. And you can't knock me over. You got to have that mindset, right? But
that's right.
I just figured that out. I learned little tricks like, okay, if I grab my wallet this way, it'll come out of my pocket faster, and if I turn my credit cards this way, I can reach into it, just like getting creative in terms of how to tackle the different problems. I even got this crazy prosthetic hand.
Okay.
That was myoelectric, which meant that it worked off of muscle movement.
Okay.
So, you move your finger up, down, or wrist, whatever, it opens and closes. And we thought that was going to be this huge thing, like very exciting for me and my family. Because one of the things that did is that enabled me to like hold a drink or a cup or really anything with one hand. So like right now, if I'm holding a drink or something, I have to pick it up with two hands.
Yeah.
And at a bar or a fundraising event that's a little tricky. Then it's like, okay, if I want the one hand, I'm leaning it up against my shirt, then the shirt's getting all wet from the moisture. So you just have all these challenges, So I'm like, oh my God, this is great. We'll get the hand. I'll be able to hold a drink. And then I get it. I get out to Stetson and I immediately realize like, oh my God, I can't feel anything in my pocket. So, lubricant all over my hand.
You can't just undo it.
Basically slide it into this sleeve. So then it's like, okay, now I'm in, the middle of an event here with, a lubed up hand. You can't pull it out and put it back on. It just came with all different sorts of
new
challenges, And I finally said, I'm better off just with what I got,
right.
So that's how I ended up doing it. But it was all sorts of things like that, just realizing how to work through the problems.
Yeah.
I've always been creative with it. I mean, even with the gym, it's like I kind of just have to slow down and look at things and say, okay, like how could I grab that? Or like, how am I going to be able to reach into this? And so just think about it and then do it and try it. And over the years, you get better and better.
Yeah.
In terms of knowing your body. So.
Trial and error. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you finished college. What did that feel like?
Finishing college felt great. Big accomplishment, obviously. It was a little rushed because I had COVID hit my second semester of junior year.
Okay.
So I only had half of that semester junior year. And then I came home and my dad was kind of like, hey, like you need to step into the business or I'm getting rid of it. Like this COVID thing, I'm done with this. So he was like, you got to drop out or do something. I don't know, but that's where we're at. So I was like, okay, I don't want to let go of the degree. So I just started running the business and doing school online.
Yeah.
And I never went back in my senior year.
I see.
So I really only got
3 years.
Well, I got 3. Yeah, I got the 2. I had freshman, sophomore, and then junior year, the fall.
Okay.
So I only had, 9 semesters, which I always look back and I'm like, that's a shame that, you lost that time to just continue like not caring and running around.
Being a college guy.
Frats, the whole thing. I mean, but at the same time, it has put me very ahead. I mean, everything happens for a reason. So I was able to start my career much sooner.
Yeah.
But it felt great. But for me, it was kind of something that was, I want to say, pushed under the rug to some extent. But I was at that point focused on the business.
Yeah, let's go.
So the degree was just, I mean, I put the Zoom classes up at work and just, I wouldn't even really be listening to the classes.
Yeah, because you're working.
I mean, so this tail end of it was a little rushed, I would say. But I mean, generally speaking, it was a great feeling because for a while when this first happened, like they didn't know, is he going to go to college? Then you never know how somebody's going to come out of it.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people that survive this type of injury just can't even imagine ever going to school. And it did, like, as we're discussing, have a lot of challenges that came with it. So it's not easy to do. There was people that wondered if I could do it. So that to me was like a way of proving that, like, yeah, this horrible thing happened, but it's not going to stop me. It literally threw me off like 8 months. It was really like I did it, recovered, and then boom, right back to it. So for me, it was kind of a way to prove that, we're not going to let this set us back in any way. You got to just keep moving on to the next thing. So
where's that come from? Like, because a lot of people, injuries or no, they'll run into an obstacle and they'll shell up, right? You have the injury, and people that go through these types of things, they may shell up and say, oh, it's not worth it. I'm not going to go to school, or I can't do this. I can't do that. Like, you have pushed forward. Why?
I think I've always had this idea that I was going to be something really special, and make it big time. So for me, it was just, I always had the mindset from a kid that it doesn't matter what, I come across or what stands in my way throughout the journey. Like you're going to be something big.
Right.
So to me, I really set my mind on that, and anything that came along was just, a part of the journey to me. So, I mean, why? I don't know. Maybe some people are born with it. I think it's a lot of how you're raised, and we're in control of our minds. I mean, we want to talk 100%. Kobe, you have the power of the mind, and the power of thinking is really makes up who you are. So
100%. Okay. All right. So the business, Budget Blinds.
Yes. Like I said, I always had the mindset of making it big. I always had a passion for like sales, leadership and sales. And I've always been a boisterous personality, good at kind of drumming up a name and kind of anywhere I went. So with what I wanted to do, I knew that a really good place to start would be with my family and with Budget Blinds. So over the years of high school, I would do internships, and stuff where I was learning, which really did help because I was somewhat thrown in by my dad when COVID hit. So by then I had already seen a lot of it. So I did installer internships my freshman, sophomore year. Mm-hmm. And then I did maybe even junior. I think I skipped my senior year, but I did those internships. I did one in high school before I graduated with my sister, Jen. She's in sales. And then after school, I did one with my dad.
Okay.
Or sorry, before COVID cut out. So in those summers, I continued to still do them with my sister and my dad. So by the time I got to managing the business, I knew the install end, which was critical.
Yeah.
I knew the sales end, and then I also knew kind of what my dad does, which is mainly what I had to do. So I always kind of had my sights that would be the best place for me, and I just got into it and took it by the reins.
Yeah.
So grew it really quickly, but in the beginning, I started at the ground. I mean, in the beginning, I was just the office guy.
Yeah.
So with COVID, the office staff never came back. We kept 2 core installers.
Yeah.
And just one other salesperson besides my sister. So when I came in, it was just like, we have no office employees run the office. So it was literally like picking up phones, scheduling installs, which was good because I had really seen all the angles
of the
operation. Before I got in. So before I kind of started, giving orders out and bossing everybody around type thing and hiring pretty quickly. I hired pretty quickly, but
I mean,
before I got into that, I was pretty prepared.
Yeah. For the people who were on board before you, right? Like, what was that like? Because now you're the guy, right? You're bossing everybody around, so to speak. Like,
I think in the beginning, it was definitely tricky. There were times where I kind of had to go back and forth a few times, particularly with the installers.
Yeah.
Because they're the brute guys, right? The tough. When I started hiring office people and stuff like that, I had to train other people on how to do the scheduling and stuff like that. I was like, listen, like, you can't do this, and this, and here's why. And in the past year's feedback I've gotten from installers and all that good stuff. So I kind of started slow and didn't really put on the owner hat, I'd say, until at least like 6 to 8 months in.
Okay.
Which is kind of fast still, but.
Yeah, but you already had the familiarity with the business.
I got in there and lit a fire.
Yeah.
So it happened very quickly that I needed to get office people and get more installers and get more salespeople. I mean, I right away started dialing up the marketing and stuff like that. So I kind of had to move on, but I made sure I spent some good time in there.
Okay.
And then, in the beginning years of management, it was tough. I'm learning things, especially with an office that you're working closely alongside with. So I had to, over the years, figure out how to manage people, and I had some turnover and stuff like that. And then eventually, I got to a point now where I'm really, really, really good with it.
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was tough, and I stayed modest. I think anybody that runs in and is like, I'm the boss now, is
you're not gonna be successful.
Not gonna succeed. And I've always thought of you can't stress hierarchy in any way.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I always do is I always speak in terms of we. And our team,
that's right.
We are so thankful for your business. Our installer will be. I always speak like in plural, because I never want to say I.
No.
Like, I will call you tomorrow, or we'll call you tomorrow, whatever. But my installers will be there. It's always our.
It's a team.
I'm a big
family.
believer in that. Because. Is it fun to be the top guy, take the trophies home? Yes, and that's that keeps people motivated, obviously, and that's great for me. But generally speaking, I always have thought like, okay, but you need to be a leader.
Yeah.
So, I think the person that's like, my business, my company, my installers, my vans, is not the right approach.
They won't make it. No, yeah. I mean, I always look at leading as serving, right? Like, I'm serving them, and the ship does not move forward without those people, regardless of how hard you work at the top. Like, the ship don't move forward.
Exactly.
So I'm the same way.
Yeah, and that's always, like I said, that's just one little trick to make everybody feel together.
Yeah.
And it just the little things really go a long way with people, they really do. And that's always been one of my strategies, is although you're the executive, the owner, the boss, whatever, you need to make it, you're always on a level playing field with your team.
Yeah.
We're a team, and like, if the phone is ringing and everybody's tied up, there's no immunity to me to like, I don't do that. I'm the owner.
No.
There's none of that. You can't have any of that.
You got to do all of it, man.
You're in this together.
You got to pick up the broom. You got to, like, whatever it takes. Yeah. Okay, so that's an example of like how you came and you lit a fire, right? So you're creating this culture at Budget Blinds. What else did you do? Like, what else have you done that has created this culture that you're changing or furthering at Budget Blinds?
I think just I've put a lot of pressure on progress, and continue, like kind of the theme of a lot of what we've been talking about, which is moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I came in and was like, we're going to double the company and we're going to triple the company. And they were kind of used to always doing a certain number, which was good.
Status quo.
And just kind of, maintaining a little over it, a little under it. And
yeah.
I was like, I year over year want to increase this thing and I want to double it and triple it. I want big growth. Now merit-based rewards do help a lot with that. And if you're growing and you're making more money, you have to share that. Like I said, it's a team. So I came in and I was like, this is what I want to do. You have to spend money to make money. I do believe that's very true. So I came in and was like, okay, I want to spend this much more marketing. I'm going to need to hire this many people.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of build a really strong sales culture and the type of culture where we say, okay, this is what we're doing this year.
Right.
Never like, how are we going to possibly sell them? Just don't bring me at. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're getting to.
You reverse engineer.
And I reward very generously.
Good.
Very, very generously. Because, like I said, you got to spend money to make money. And generally speaking, as much as we'd love it to be all sunshine and rainbows, money does tend to talk. So,
yeah, I mean, it's important to do right, and it's important to do well in the community, give back. But we are in business to make money, right? That's the core reason.
So I always I give really, really nice big bonuses, the type of bonuses where it's like, how could we possibly be getting that?
Right.
Almost to the point where you have them almost to the point where you kind of make them like addicted to that.
Yes.
So, you set metric-based goals and they hit it, and then they're like, oh my God. Then they love that bonus, right?
That's right.
They love it. So then they're fighting to get to the goal, Right. So I think if you want to grow, it's clear. You have to clearly define where you want to go.
Yeah.
You have to put the tools in place for them to do it.
Yeah.
And you have to reward them. Or else you could have somebody thinking, well, this isn't fair. We doubled the business and we get nothing.
Right.
Or what if I just said, hey, I want to triple the business and keep the same marketing portfolio for the next 10 years?
So you said you're always focused on what's next. So what's next?
What's next for me? I think there's it's a loaded question. It's like there's what's next for Joey, what's next for Travis. No, I'm kidding. What's next for the business? I think the business might be the easier side of it. I mean, I have a goal, big sales goal I want to get to. And one of the things I really want to do is open a showroom in Venice.
Okay.
So we have 2 territories, Sarasota and Venice. We don't have a showroom in Venice. My parents when they were in it, were never full-time managers.
Okay.
I mean, my dad was in Valpak his whole life, marketing up north.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of like his second business that they didn't want to work too hard in this business. It was kind of their retirement business almost. Yeah. So they were never in it full-time managers. They, sometimes were in once or twice a week. So they always had the mindset of how could we manage another store, and at that level of involvement they really couldn't have. Now that I'm in there, I'm in there like probably 50 hours a week, so I definitely could pull it off. And pretty much over these years I've been testing the waters in terms of like, okay, like you're this young ambitious guy, let's test some of your theories. Do they work? Like are you going to tank the company? And they have worked. It has grown immensely. So I've kind of been staging it for this next chapter in terms of, like I said, in terms of being over equipped. I'm at a level right now where I could kind of just say, okay, you and you and you, we're all going to go, and you're Venice now.
Go down to Venice.
So I'm in a position where I could very easily pivot to doing it. And I think that'll help me take the company where I want it to go and just accomplish what we need to there. In terms of me, I think there's speaking coming, speeches, more talks like this. I think there's books coming. I want to see how far I could take the, Joey Coco legacy and Joey's strong brand. I want to venture into real estate a little bit. I wouldn't mind having other businesses. I mean, I really idolize, successful business people and particularly entrepreneurs. Like I love the Sharks on Shark Tank. Think about the Sharks. I mean, they got can you imagine they have maybe 100 businesses?
Right.
And to me, I'm like, that's so freaking cool. Like, can you imagine being Mark Cuban and owning a basketball team and 7 garage companies and,
all
that's awesome.
Vehicles, all these
that's
assets.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and all the things that he gets to do, with his life. So I think I would really love to live that lifestyle. To some extent, I am now on just a very local level. But I really want to be like those guys one day. How far could you take this entrepreneur thing? How far could you take the speaker thing? Could you be a national name, a household name?
Yes.
Why couldn't you be on a show one day? These guys that get on shows. So I think that I want to see just how far I could take it. I'd take it all the way to the top, but like I said, it just depends on how much it sticks.
Right.
But I think just getting the name out there and most importantly, inspiring people. I mean, like you said in the beginning, a lot of people with injuries like this, it happens. They're like, I could never go to school. They kind of give up on their lives, you know? And like I said earlier, it's just another wall for me to blast through.
You can show them.
So I can show people that have had horrible things happen to them that they could keep going, or just normal people. I mean, it's hard for normal people that have had nothing happen to them to motivate themselves.
Absolutely. 100%.
A lot of people are lazy and just want their lives to be easy and simple. I've never wanted that easy and simple life. And you can show people that. It's so easy to spark a fire in people, And I always thought, if people see me and how I talk and how I conduct myself and the goals I have, hopefully, they can realize that they could have the same thing.
Right.
Whether, like I said, whether it's a serious situation or not, or even take grief. Like people have grief and they lose people and they stop, they want to stop. They think, how could life go on? And basically anybody that's questioning how could life go on?
How can I keep going?
Or how could I accomplish this? Well, I'll never be a business owner, so I shouldn't even try that. Or, I'll never do that. It's easy to say that too, that you'll never do something. So I think that just showing people, look, here's this guy, 75% burns. He's got all these challenges. And he's doing it, And all this stuff is so simple. I'm not some rocket scientist.
But it's simple to people who are doing it.
Yeah.
But to those that look at it as the, immovable object, it's like climbing a mountain.
I just think it's easy in your head to say, I'm going to be something great.
Right.
I mean, I walk into events or contests or I'm like, I'm going to go to this event. Everybody is going to freaking know that Joey Coco was there.
Damn right.
And I'm going to go and do this and I'm going to just be the best at it. Or I'm going to run budget blinds. I'm going to have the best territory in the country. Right. I mean, it's easy to choose to have that mindset.
Yeah.
I think people get caught in the, I can't, or, much work. It's either laziness or they just build themselves into the box. They think I could never do that.
Yeah, and then once they're in the box, they
and I don't know. I don't know for sure when I say these things.
You're doing it now.
That's just how I do it.
You're doing it.
We're going to do this.
That's right.
Because you have to have that belief in yourself.
It is inspirational.
That's how you do it.
Even just sitting here with you. So I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you joining the show today.
I love it. Thank you
to
Travis
for having
me. Yeah, he finally made it through with the thunder here, Trav.
Can you grab me that? Listen, as an entrepreneur, your time, look at that. Your time is your most valuable asset. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
So as a thank you, because we appreciate you giving some of your time to us, we just got a little gift for you.
Look at this.
We just got a little something.
Trav, will you survive if I put you down? I think
I'll pop it. So you can just lift it.
Oh, yeah. Or lift it here?
Yep. There you go.
Oh, wow. Wow. The mail. I love the Naomi. How'd you guys know that? Let me think around. Look at this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Josh, you just knows me so well. Look at that. It's beautiful.
So,
thank you guys so much.
Thank you, man. The book is by Trey Williams. He was a guest on the show.
Oh, wow. Really?
Love that. Yeah, he started a Fleet Forward.